The radio show, the show about our exciting Pacific West Conference. The PacWest is made up of NCAA Division II universities from Arizona and Utah to California and Hawaii. It's the most beautiful and diverse athletic conference in the entire NCAA. This is Commissioner Bob Hogue, inviting you to join our outstanding coaches, student athletes, and administrators as we talk about the great excitement in the PacWest. Now here's Assistant Commissioner Tom Camillo, live from our studios in Santan, Arizona.
2 weeks, Joe. 2 weeks from today. You know what that is?
It's 2 weeks from today.
It is, but it's something even better.
Tell me.
It's the inaugural PacWest Men's and Women's Basketball Championship Tournament live from Azusa Pacific University. 12 teams, 6 men, 6 women. Women's teams will be competing for a pair of conference championships and a berth in the NCAA 2 playoffs. It starts with 4 games on March 7th, that Thursday, and it will go till that Saturday night when we'll crown champions for the men and women. And this is the inaugural PacWest Basketball Championships. Really a lot of fun. The first 7 years I've been involved with this conference, it's been basically the regular season champion has gone on to the NCAA championship. But this year, we'll have regular season champion, and then we will go on to the tournament, and the winner of the PacWest tournament will go and play in the NCAA. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Wow.
Be a lot of fun. So today we are going to talk, believe it or not, Azusa Pacific basketball. And, Joe, you're going to get the head coach of the women's team, TJ Hardiman, along with his niece, who plays on the team, and they have a really interesting story. His niece is Kelly Hardiman, and they're actually in Hawaii right now. Azusa Pacific is in Hawaii competing on their Hawaiian leg of their trip, and they have an interesting story of how they ended up at Azusa Pacific. They both spent a lot of time overseas growing up, actually, with their families, and then found their way to play basketball in Azusa Pacific, having a terrific year this year, their inaugural season in the Pacific West Conference. So we're going to get TJ on and then his niece, and we're going to talk about what it's like at Azusa Pacific. And we also have a special guest. I don't know if people can see walking around, Crispy. Part Corgi, part something else, or all Corgi?
Part Corgi, part Beagle.
Part Corgi, part Beagle. Come here, Crispy. And I don't know if people can see, but this is a really cute dog. She's just terrific. But 2 weeks from today in the Pacific West Conference, we will have the men's and women's basketball tournaments, and also 2 weeks from today on PacWest Radio, we'll do the announcement of the all conference team for the men and women, and so it's going to be. Excuse me. It's going to be extremely exciting event that's going on. So we're going to give it a shot. It's a long-distance call to Hawaii, and we are live, I guess, in Honolulu. And TJ, welcome to the PacWest Radio Show.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for sending me to Hawaii to be on it here.
That's great. So, TJ, I know that you also have Kelly there. We'll talk to Kelly in a few minutes. Kind of want to talk about the story, coaching at Azusa Pacific, and then also Kelly joining the team. Talk a little bit. How did you end up at Azusa Pacific, and what is your background in basketball? Because it seems like you have a basketball lineage in your family.
Well, I played at Westmont. My dad played at Westmont. My brothers all played at Westmont. And after that, I got into high school coaching. And I coached in high school, where I coached my sons, and my daughters went to school at the same high school. And then when my sons graduated from high school, I was kind of done with high school basketball. And Hope International University is very close to where we live, and offered me a job there coaching the women. They asked me if I'd take over that, and so I thought, I'll try that and see, and did that for 3 years. And the first year we were there, we took over. They'd won, I think, 1, 3, and 0 games the 3 years before I got there.
Oh, wow.
We won 6 games. We won 6 games the first year, and we thought we were world champions. And we hadn't recruited anybody there. The second year, I actually recruited for the team, and we started started 3 freshmen, a sophomore, and a junior, and we won 20 games. And one of the teams we beat was Azusa, and we were in the GSAC. And Bill O'Dell, who is one of the best coaches ever for the men, and was coaching at Azusa and also the athletic director. I had coached against him in high school. And so when their coach left after the 3rd year I was at Hope, they called and offered me the job, asked me to think about it. And so I said, well, let me pray about it and think about it. And my kids go, Dad, you better pray because there's nothing to think about. And so I went ahead and did that, and have had a great 6 years.
And how long have you been coaching altogether in your career? High school and college?
I don't know.
It's
long enough so I don't keep track of the years.
What's the difference? You said you coach high school boys, and then you go and do collegiate women. What were some of the differences, and what were some of the things that you learned in that transition?
Well, there's a lot of differences. In high school, obviously, you coach the kids that come to your school, so you don't have any real choice in how the team is made up. I mean, you obviously can keep kids and cut kids, but the kids that are there are the kids that you get. In college, you can see people and say, hey, that person would fit in well, or that person wouldn't fit in well. So it's been a neat experience at Azusa to craft the team with the type of personalities and girls with work ethic and things that I really feel like will represent Azusa Pacific and our team well. Also, for boys, boys you can work on plays all day long, and all of a sudden one boy will get the ball and say, the play wasn't working, I had to do it. I had to take it on my own. Whereas girls are a lot more coachable, I think, on this level, and they're willing. Their problem sometimes is they run the play to a fault. You'll have somebody wide open, and they'll go, I got to run the play. And also, obviously, with women, with guys, they can not get along as well, and they step on the floor, and they're okay. With women, you really have to be careful with team dynamics and make sure that everybody's on the same page, or it really shows up on the floor if women don't like each other when they're playing. We take care of problems as they arise and try not to have a lot. But anytime you have a season, you're going to have differences of opinion. Those just have to be addressed and dealt with. Thankfully, at Azusa, the kids that are wanting to be here, and when you step in our gym, there's a gigantic God First sign. Everything. I mean, kids know when they're coming to Azusa that it's a Christian college, and so they have a pretty good idea of what to expect. I always share my testimony with them before they come, so they know where I'm coming from. So there's not a lot of surprises once they get there.
When you recruit, do you go to specific schools, or how do you recruit? Being at a school like Azusa Pacific, I'm sure there's differences than what coaches that maybe are at a state school or non-denominational school sort of recruit. Is there a difference?
Oh, there's a huge difference. Ours is almost more of a filter we need because we have so many. I mean, on our website, we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 girls a week that send in stuff saying, hey, I'm really interested in coming to Azusa. Now, they're also interested in other, I'm sure, Christian schools and sending the same thing there, but they are very interested in Azusa. And so a lot of times it's, okay, that's great, but can you play? And so we rely on video and different things. But just to go to tournaments, I don't actually, to be honest with you, I go to about 1 or 2 days in the summer of recruiting stuff because it's just to see good players is nice, but I have no idea if they're interested, if they would want to go to a Christian school or not. And those are the type of kids we want, the kids that want to go to a Christian school, but that are on the highest talent level. I mean, I'd say most of our kids our top kids could all be somewhere on a Division I school, but they decided, hey, we'd like to be at this level at a Christian school where there's a good emphasis. I think it was funny. We have one girl on our team right now that played at Long Beach State. She said, we came here a couple of years ago to a tournament, and you would have not known we were in Hawaii because we never left our hotel room except to go to the gym. She was telling me this when we were about 100 yards off the beach snorkeling, and then we were surfing, and we've just had it. Basketball is important, but this is not all there is in life, and we want to make sure they have a great time, and where else to have it but in Hawaii. That also doesn't hurt recruiting to tell people, hey, you know what, we're in Hawaii. Hopefully you'll be here with us next year.
It's funny because I'll ask coaches that question. I said, do you use the trip to Hawaii as a recruiting tool? And a lot do, some don't. And some will say, we're just there for all business, but it really is about the overall experience.
Oh, 100%. I mean, to us, I definitely tell people. I mean, we have another girl on our team that she's actually my daughter-in-law now that played for us a number of years ago, and our big trips then were to Montana and Tennessee, and so she's here with my son now on an anniversary trip, and saying, "Boy, I wish we'd have come to Hawaii." She goes, in Montana, we were there for the opening of deer hunting season. So she goes, I saw dead deer instead of beautiful kids.
That's awesome. It is quite a difference. It's funny that you say that because my wife went to Messiah University, and I tell her, you look at that Division III school and how many championships they win, and their soccer program's outstanding. And I used to say to her, I said, I think they get Division I athletes that want that experience, and you're kind of confirming that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's I think women are a little bit more realistic than men too, as they realize this is a vehicle to get an education to set me up for the rest of my life. He's going to be my friend. This would be the skills I use. Most women aren't thinking I'm going to make a living playing professional basketball. I think every guy in the world thinks he wants to play for play in the pros or in Europe, and so that's their dream. And I think women are a little bit more realistic sometimes too.
Let's talk about Kelly, your niece that plays on the team. Talk about what kind of player she is, and how did she end up at Azusa Pacific?
Well, the thing that I think separates Kelly from a lot of players is she just has an internal motor, internal drive that just keeps her pursuing every play. She gets a ton of offensive rebounds for us, but when the ball goes up and shot, you can see players drifting back. Kelly's always running in to try to get the ball. It doesn't hurt her that genetically she's got, she's 6 foot and is quick and has long arms, so that helps her a lot. But in high school, she ran, I think she ran a little bit of cross country and different things, so she's in great shape. And so I knew in the beginning of the year in our conditioning that she was always up with the leaders in the pack and everything, and just so physically she's got all the tools. And then just fundamentally, her dad being a college basketball player and a coach also has just given her the tools she needs to make the right moves, to have the right footwork, to do those kinds of things. The one thing that's kind of funny, though, is she never was allowed to really shoot three-pointers in high school. She took a very, very few of them, I think. And for us, she's taken more than anybody on our team. And she's really good at it. And we encourage her, and we set up plays and run things for her to do that. But that wasn't something she did a whole lot in high school. So that's been a big change. But also just the way she's super humble. She does whatever we ask her to do, but she's never someone saying, hey, I need this or I need that. Only thing she's asked me for on this trip is quarters so she can do the laundry for everybody.
It's talk a little bit about coaching. You said you coached your sons in high school, and now you're not coaching a daughter, but you're coaching a niece whose father. I'm assuming that's your brother, correct? Your brother's daughter.
Correct.
And talk about that dynamic. It's not your direct child. It's a niece, but at the same time, it's also your brother's kid. You get advice from your brother, and how does that all work?
Right. Well, I think anytime, at least for me, I know for my boys, and now Kelly is the same way. I watch them a little bit closer. They have to earn a little bit more. They don't really I don't let them get away with stuff. I know my boys one time in high school. I've had a number of times boys would forget their shoes and they'd borrow somebody else's shoes, and I wouldn't find out about it till afterwards. Well, we were at a game, and one of the boys forgot his shoes, but he's warming up, and I look and I go, "Those aren't your shoes." And he goes, "I forgot them." And I was gonna bench him, and I thought, you know what? I know this has happened 3 or 4 times to other people, and I didn't bench him. I didn't even find out about it until afterwards. I'm not going to treat him I'm not going to punish him for something I wouldn't get anybody else for. but I do notice what they're doing. They don't get to slack off in different things where somebody else I might not notice as much. So it's a two-way deal. I'm making sure they're doing the right things, but I'm also making sure they're working hard and putting in the extra work to earn whatever they get. But that's thankfully for my boys and for Kelly, that isn't really an issue. Once they get on the floor, you realize, okay, they can play and they do a good job with that. But there's the added benefit too of I think it's fun to see anybody do well, but when you see someone, your son or your niece or someone doing well, it's that added. It's a nice feeling.
What's it been like making the transition from NAIA to Division II and playing in the PacWest?
Well, for us, just the number of good teams there are. I mean, when we would play preseason games before, we would play one or two good teams, but now everybody we play, kind of where Azusa wants to be is we want to be in the same place in Division II as we were in Division I, and that was, we were winning the Directors' Cup year in, year out in NAIA, and Azusa wants to get all their programs back to that same level. And so I've scheduled that way. I mean, we started the year playing Western Washington, Seattle Pacific, UC San Diego. Those are all teams that have been or are in the top 20 in the country. And so that's kind of the bent of where we want to go and play and be ourselves. But right away, that's just a little bit tougher. And with us, we have just kind of finished the cycle of some really, really good teams. And now we're back to where we're young again. So it's a good place to start and build for us. I mean, the other day we were playing, and I looked out there, and we had 2 freshmen and 3 sophomores playing in crunch time of a game. So it's a learning. And we would be doing, that'd be a struggle at any place with that young a team.
Is there any challenges in recruiting during this transition time, or the ability for you guys to play in the NCCAA National Championship Tournament? Does that sort of mitigate not being able to go to the NCAAs until you're a full Division II member?
I haven't talked to one player that has had a negative light or a negative view of saying, "Oh, we can't play for the national championship NCAA yet." I don't know, because women, for the most part, are more about the team, the school, the atmosphere, and, I think that counts for everything. Now, obviously, going to the NCCAA or having that opportunity is also a nice thing to be able to shoot for and talk about. But to this point, I really haven't seen that being a big negative for incoming. And obviously, incoming players would know, hey, in a couple of years, I'll be able to do that anyway. So that hasn't been a very big issue at all for us at this point.
Well, we have about 10 minutes left. Do you have Kelly there with you?
I do. She's right here.
All right, let's get her on the line and we can ask her a few questions about playing for her uncle.
Okay, here she is.
Okay.
Hey.
Kelly, welcome to PacWest Radio.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit. I know you've been listening into the response of your coach, and talk about it from your perspective. What's it like to play, for your uncle?
Well, a lot like he said, he does definitely notice me more, but I would say that's a good thing because I've improved so much, because he's taken, he notices when I do things and makes me make sure that I'm always working hard, and it just motivates me as well.
Yeah, how did you end up at Azusa? A lot of people probably assume your uncle's there. Maybe that's why you went, but you probably looked at a lot of different colleges. What attracted you to Azusa?
Well, when we came back during summers, my dad would take us to some colleges. We did look at other colleges. We looked at Westmont, I think, and Biola, and Azusa. But for the most part, the deciding factor was that if I went to Azusa, my uncle was there, and he would be able to look at me, first of all, as a player, because living overseas, I wasn't able to talk to much coaches or be available to just go and play in tournaments. So having him was definitely a big factor, because he just had faith that I was good enough to play.
Talk about, that's one of the parts of your story we'd like to talk about, is you lived overseas for a number of years. Explain that for us.
I was born and raised in the Philippines. Actually, my parents were missionaries over there. Their parents were also missionaries, so we've been over there for a while. I grew up in the Philippines, and I just lived. I lived in a community of missionary kids as well. Some people would think that I was the only. I was with other people who were like me, like other missionaries, other international kids. So that was really fun, and we got to just experience the Philippines, and it just has changed me and how I think.
So what was the opportunity? Obviously, you played basketball. How did that all work? You had opportunities to play, obviously, in the Philippines. Were there leagues? Was it at your school? How did that all work?
Yeah, I was in a team in my school. We have a basketball team. We have all of the sports, but in the Philippines, basketball is actually a really big sport. So it wasn't hard to find teams to play, but a lot of times they weren't that talented, so we would have to play the college level teams. So a lot of times we were high school teams playing the college teams to get good competition. But we also have every year a tournament where we go overseas to Japan, Guam, or Korea. And what we do is we have a tournament with all the different military schools. So there's about 16 teams, and all the different military bases within like Japan and Korea, and like a few international schools like us join the tournament. So that's really good competition because it probably seems more like us, the same build, the same like height and fit and like style of game. So that was a really interesting tournament for us.
When you were looking at, to continue on, into college, did you always want to play basketball, or were there other sports you were interested in?
I wanted to play volleyball for a while because I really enjoyed volleyball. I played it all 4 years of high school as well as basketball. But for a while I did want to play volleyball.
You talked about going to to these different tournaments in different countries. How did your experience? I mean, obviously you probably have more of a life experience than most high school students going to school in the United States. You got an opportunity to go to a lot of different countries. And that area, it's probably sort of second nature to you to go to all those different places. How does that help you going to college, back in the States, and how does that help you in basketball? Does it make you more organized, keep everything in perspective? Talk a little bit about that.
I think that it's taught me to definitely keep things in perspective, but also just be able to adapt to things, and just in the game as well. Like if I'm playing, just to be able to adapt to the situation or just know how different teams play, because I've played a lot of different styles of basketball, so that's definitely helped me when I face different teams and just being able to play with them. And just like traveling in general, it's come second nature. So when I travel with the team, it's not a big deal because I know, like, I've done it so many times.
Then it obviously helps when you go on a trip like this to Hawaii, where probably a lot of your teammates haven't had that experience. Yeah, a lot of my teammates. Well, a lot of them have come to Hawaii, but a lot of them don't travel nearly as much. Your uncle said the only thing he asked for is quarters on the trip.
Yeah, I mean,
is that something?
Me and my roommate have to do laundry.
Talk about the Pacific West Conference and the competition, and what your experience has been like going through this first year in the PacWest. What has it been like for you?
It's had its challenges. It's definitely different playing here and playing with girls who are really physical and the same size and speed as me, and so it's definitely had me trying to figure out new things to do, which I'm still trying to do. But just being with good players, like all five are really good players on the court, so that's definitely been a challenge because that's not something I was used to playing in high school. Me and my friend were the only players on the court who could play, and we would just basically pass the ball and just try to beat the other team with us too. So
the depth of the teams you're facing is really something new to you.
Yeah, for sure.
It's what about, you said you were born in the Philippines and obviously spend, I guess, was it your entire life living there till you came to go to school?
Yeah, I went to school there all 12 years.
So what has been the biggest adjustment? I mean, you said that you came back during summers and stuff, but what's been the biggest adjustment of being basically, throughout the year being back in the United States?
Probably the biggest adjustment would just be being away from things that are super familiar to me, and obviously not having my parents and not having just how I lived life there was really different. So coming to Zusa and living on my own, first of all, which is always a big change for everyone, but I also have to live on my own and deal with all the new things that come with living in a new country, just not knowing the good food places, not knowing where to go on weekends, just not being able to be familiar with anything. I think that's something that I've definitely had to kind of try to figure out or just deal with.
What will you do during the summers? Will you go back to the Philippines, or will you stay here year-round?
Yeah, actually this summer I'll be able to go back to the Philippines with my family. So that'll be really good. But most summers, I think they'll actually come out. But
Kelly, we wish you the best of luck. Who do you have coming up your next game in Hawaii? Who are you guys facing? Chaminade. And then, we wish you the best of luck, and we're glad that Azusa Pacific is in the conference. We know that you're one of the featured people, you and TJ on the PacWest television show, which is now running up on YouTube. And if people want to check it out, just go to thepacwest.com and you just click on the video and you'll get a little bit more about Kelly and TJ. And Kelly, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. Good luck in the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you.
Kelly Hardiman, along with her uncle TJ Hardiman, the head coach at Azusa Pacific. Just an interesting story. And you can check out the video again on thepacwest.com. And Wayne Coito did a terrific job of featuring TJ and Kelly, and it's interesting because you would assume, when you watch her play, she's just a terrific player. I've seen the highlights of her, and you see the stat lines, and you'd assume that she'd grown up playing basketball in the United States at the high school level, and grew up actually in the Philippines, where her parents are missionaries, and grew up there. And then having to get adjusted to the culture here.
Wow,
it's interesting. But her family, long line of basketball players and coaches, and it's one of those fascinating stories in the Pacific West Conference. So, Joe, just again a reminder: 2 weeks from today, the PacWest men's and women's basketball tournaments will be underway. You can go to the website. Tickets are on sale now for the PacWest Championship Tournament. You just go on thepacwest.com, click on the link on there, and it'll take you right to the website. We expect to have a great tournament. It's going to be the women will play during the day on Thursday. It'll be the 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, and then the same setup for the men at night on that March 7th. March 8th will be the semifinals during the day for the women, semifinals at night for the men, and then at night on Saturday, late afternoon on Saturday into the early evening will be the women's and men's championships. So for Joe Carrera, I'm Tom Camillo. Thanks for listening to PacWest Radio. We'll talk to you next week here on KQCK in the Santan Valley.
Hi, this is Daniel, your host for Rock and Roll 101, every other Sunday at 5 on KQCK.